far we've got slope-intercept form and we've got standard form. Now what we're doing is we're looking at point-slope form of the equation of a line. So when I look at this, it says point-slope form. So what that means is that the form of the equation contains both a point and the slope. And so if I look at the equation, here's my slope, right? I mean, that's what slope is. Slope is referred to as m. Here is my point, x1, y1. Okay, so if you notice, it contains both the point and a slope. And this is actually one of the easiest forms of the equation of a line, believe it or not. So let's go and look at an example. It says write an equation in point-slope form that passes through 3, -2, and has a slope of -5. Okay. So here's the equation from the previous page. Okay. So all I'm going to do is substitute in some values. So I'm going to substitute in 3, -2 for the point. Now the question is, how do you do that? Basically, you're going to use the opposite of what each of the points is. So I have y, right? Up here, what coordinate is y? -2. So I'm going to use the opposite of -2. Why do you use the opposite? That's just the way the form of the equation works. So what's the opposite of -2? So I'm going to do y plus 2. Okay? Now I'm going to leave a little space there, and I'm now going to put x. What is the x coordinate of the point? 3. So I'm going to use the opposite of 3, which is what? So here we go. Now the last thing I need to do is plug in what? The slope. And the slope is? -5. So I'm going to put -5 right here. And there you go. That's it. That's all you have to do. So let's go ahead and look at another one. So if you're taking notes, what I would do is I would just put -2, and slope 1/3. That's all I would do if I was taking notes here. So I'm going to start with the y, right? What's the y coordinate of the point I'm dealing with? 1. So I'm going to use the opposite of 1, which is -1. So I've got y minus 1 equals. What's the x coordinate? So the opposite of -2 is? +2. And then what do you need to plug in now? The 1/3. And the 1/3 is going to go right here. And there you go. That's the equation. It's pretty straightforward. All you're doing is you're plugging in the point, plugging in the slope. Okay? Questions? Okay, now, the last few problems are going to be a little different. Okay, it says write in standard form. So let's review real quick. Does anybody remember what standard form looks like? AX plus BY equals C. And remember, A, B, and C are all integers. Integers means no fractions. So basically what that means is I need to get all the x's and y's to one side of the equation, everything else to the other. So I'm going to start by distributing the negative 2/3. So I have y minus 1 equals what? Negative 2/3 x plus. Basically, all you need to do here is take the negative 2 times negative 5. What's negative 2 times negative 5? 10, and I'm going to put that over 3. Okay, so all you do is take the numerator times the numerator. Because 5, you could view that as 5 over 1. So now, according to standard form, I need to get all the x's and y's to one side. But notice I've got fractions here, and you can't have that. So what I'm going to do is get rid of the fraction. My denominator here is 3, so I'm going to multiply this by a 3, this by a 3. But when you do that, you have to multiply all terms by a 3. So I've got to multiply the y by a 3 and the 1 by a 3. So every one of those terms you have to multiply by a 3. Now when I do that, I get here 3y minus what? 3 equals, see those are gone, so it's negative 2x, okay, and then the 3's here are gone, plus 10. Well, now it's going to be a lot easier to simplify. That's why we got rid of the fractions when we did. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add 2x to both sides. So when I do that, I get 2x plus 3y minus 3 equals 10. Is that in standard form? So what do you need to do? Add 3. So really I get 2x plus 3y equals what? 13. Is that in standard form? Yes, and you're good to go. So basically all you're doing here is simplifying. That's all you're doing. All right, let's look at another one of those. Now this one isn't as hard because it doesn't have the fractions. And we're going to solve it the exact same way. So what do you do first? Yep, good. I'm going to distribute that 7. So I get y plus 1 equals what? A second. 7x, yes? Minus 35. What do we do now? Good, subtract 7x. So now I get negative 7x plus y plus 1 equals negative 35. Yep, subtract 1, very good. So I get negative 7x plus y equals what? Negative 36. Now one of the things we talked about was having a negative term as your leading term here with the negative 7. And really you shouldn't do that. So really what you need to do is change all those signs. So it'll be 7x minus y equals 36. Now all we did is switch all 3 of those signs. So far so good? Think you can handle that? All right, we have another type of problem, and this one isn't going to take us very long. It says to write in slope-intercept form. Okay, so this one's a little different because I need to review what slope-intercept form is. Good. Y equals mx plus b. So basically, I need to get the y all by itself and everything else on the other side. So can somebody take a guess? What do you think the first step is that you'll do? Distribute what? Yep, good. So I end up getting y plus 6 equals okay. Now, I need to put that in slope-intercept form, so can somebody tell me what I'm going to do?
Close.
Subtract 6. Remember, slope-intercept form means you're going to get the y all by itself. So I end up getting y equals negative 3x plus 6. And there you go. Okay, let's look at another one of those. These are actually a little bit easier than the problems you just got done doing because they don't take as much work. So what do we do first? Distribute. So I end up getting y plus 3 equals 3 halves x minus 3 halves. Now, with slope-intercept form, does it matter if we have a fraction? No. Okay. So we don't have to worry about getting rid of that fraction. What's the only thing you need to do now? Subtract 3. So I end up getting y to equal 3 halves x. Now what I got to do is combine those. So negative 3 is really like negative 3 over 1, right? So how many halves would that be? Negative 6. So I have negative 3 halves and negative 6 halves, which is negative 9 halves. Good. And there you go. Because that's what negative 3 plus negative 6 is. Because you had your negative 3 halves here, and you added your negative 6 halves here. Should be negative 9 halves, which is the same as negative 4. All right, so this is the plan. Today we're going to go ahead and have a book assignment. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and have a worksheet. Now, real quick, let's go back here to point slope form. Okay, here we go, point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So let's review real quick how we get this. Remember, I start with y. I take whatever the opposite of the y coordinate is. Okay, so in this case, plus 2 equals. Then I start with the x coordinate. I take whatever the opposite of the x coordinate is, and then I put my slope in. Okay, so your assignment then. We'll scroll back here. Here we go, pages 236, 237, 11 through 45.